Okay, two-step equations. To solve a two-step equation, we've got to undo the addition and subtraction, and we've got to undo the multiplication and division. So normally when we are simplifying something, we use the order of operations. So when we're talking about trying to solve for a variable, we're trying to undo all that's been done. So to undo something, we have to do the opposite. So we're actually going to go the opposite order of operations. So we're going to do an addition and subtraction first. We're going to do multiplication and division after that. Then we're going to do any exponents and grouping. Okay? And remember, grouping would be our parentheses, anything above as a group over a fraction bar, radical signs, anything like that. Okay, so we're going to take care of the addition and subtraction first, and then move into the multiplication and division. So starting with this number 9, okay, first thing we need to do is to undo the addition and subtraction to remove the constant term. So we have to take this 8 and we need to move it to the other side, because remember, our goal is to get x by itself. So it's adding the 8, we're going to subtract it. So subtract the 8, subtract the 8. And remember, 8 minus 8 is 0. And 50 minus 8 is 42. Okay? And since that 0 isn't really holding a place or doing anything for us, it's not necessary. Remember, 6x plus 0, that 0, the identity property says if I add something to 0, it's still whatever we started with. So I can just write it as 6x is equal to 42. And now I have a multiplication. And because I multiplied, I need to divide it to get rid of that coefficient. So I'm going to divide by 6. Okay? And 6 divided by 6 is that 1, remember? So we get x, and 42 divided by 6 is 7. Alright? And let's check our answer, same as before. We're going to do 6 times 7 plus 8 is equal to 50. So 6 times 7 is 42. We're going to add that 8, and we get 50 is equal to 50. That's what we want. So x is equal to 7. That is the value that works for the variable. Okay? Alright, then down here, same thing, except for this time our variable's on the right side. So we're going to be moving all of the coefficients and constants to the left side of the equation. So we're going to start with that addition and subtraction again. We have a positive 9 here, plus 9. So we're going to subtract it. We're going to subtract it. Okay? 13 minus 9 is 4. And this 9 minus 9 is 0. Okay? And remember, same as before, I don't need to place that 0 there. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it off. Right? Now I have negative 4 times k, so I need to divide to get rid of it. So I'm going to do divide by negative 4. And I'm left with 1k over here. It's understood to be there, so I'm just going to write it as k. And 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1. So we want to check ourselves. So 13 is equal to negative 4 multiplied by negative 1 plus 9. Okay, remember, all I did was take that k value and I plugged in the value of it, negative 1, into that place. And now I'm going to simplify. So negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 4. Add 9. 9 and 4 is 13. So that works, and that is the correct value of k. Okay? So you're going to work on 10 and 12 on your own. We're going to go ahead and flip over to the back side so that you can kind of work on these at the end here. So once we finish, you'll do 10 and 12. Right now, we're going to go ahead and talk about these on the back. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do number 13. And so here, remember, we're doing addition and subtraction first. So we have a minus 7. I'm going to add the 7, subtract, I'm going to add, that's the opposite, to the other side. And what happens here is that negative 7 and that positive 7 become 0. And that leaves me with x divided by 2 here. And 9 plus 7 is 16. Now, x is being divided by 2. So to undo that, I have to multiply by 2. Okay, and so what happens here is I have a 2 over 1 and a 1 over 2. And when I multiply those, it becomes 1. So 1x. And then I'm going to multiply over here by 2, and I get 32. And we're going to check ourselves to make sure that that makes sense. So I'm going to plug in 32. over 2 minus 7 is equal to 9. So 32 divided by 2 is where we start. That's 16 minus 7, and 16 minus 7 is 9. So that worked. 32 is the correct answer. Okay, now I'm going to skip down and do number 17. All right, now here we have a negative 10. And yes, that negative 10 is being added to the 7/4, but the 7/4 is what's positive. This 10 is negative. So if I want to undo it or move that negative, I have to make it positive 10, because negative 10 plus 10 is going to be equal to 0. So plus 10 is what I need to do over here as well. So I have 7/4 p is equal to negative 28. And now I have that fraction. So remember, with a fraction, we want to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to flip that to 4/7 and multiply both sides of the equation. So here, 4 times 7 is 28. 7 times 4 is 28. 28 divided by 28 is 1. So that becomes 1p. Over here, we get negative 28 times 4, which is going to be negative 112 divided by 7 times 1, which is 7. And if I simplify those and I divide, I get p is equal to negative 16. Okay, now let's check ourselves real fast. We're going to do negative 10 plus 7 over 4 times negative 16 over 1, I'm going to write it that way, is equal to negative 38. Sorry, I'm running out of room here. I'm going to multiply these two things first, and I get negative 7 times negative 16 is going to give me negative 112, and 4 times 1 is 4. And so now I want to divide next, so I get negative 112 divided by 4, which is negative 28. And I still have this negative 10 over here. Sorry, let me draw a little dividing line so you can see the difference. Negative 10 being added to this negative 28, and it's supposed to equal negative 38. And we find out that it does equal that. So negative 16 is the correct answer on that one. Okay? Alright, so you'll be responsible for 10 and 12 on the back, as well as the 14, 15, 16, and 18 here. Those are all practice. They'll be very similar to the ones we just did. Okay? Alright, now down here at the bottom, there's a little watch out. Okay? These are different because we have a grouping situation. Remember, even though there's not parentheses here, we talked about this with order of operations, a fraction bar is considered a grouping symbol if you have something on top like this. So we do have to solve this treating it like that, okay? So remember, we're going to do this last because grouping is what we usually do first. So because we're undoing everything, we're going to do it last, okay? So that means I have division, so I have x plus 11 and then divided by 8. So I need to get rid of this division first. So if I divide it by 8, then I need to multiply this side by 8, and I need to multiply this side by 8. And what happens is this is 1 over 8, okay, because the 8 is the denominator, and this is 8 over 1. And so when I multiply those two opposites, I get 1. So this just becomes x plus 11, okay? Over here I have negative 3 times 8, and that becomes negative 24. Now I have just that group left that was on top of my parentheses. So I have x plus 11. I need to move this positive 11, so I need to subtract it. That'll give me 0. Same as before, I'm going to subtract over here, and that's going to give me negative 35, okay? And then this x plus 0 is really just x, because that 0 adds no value to this right now. And we get x is equal to negative 35. And then we check ourselves. So we're going to do negative 35 plus 11 divided by 8 is equal to negative 3. And remember, now we have a regular order of operations. We're not undoing anything, so we have to take care of the grouping first. So we do negative 35 plus 11 is going to give us negative 24, still divided by 8. Okay, and when we do the final division here, negative 24 divided by 8 is negative 3, which is what we wanted. So we know that the value of x is negative 35. Okay? All right, I'm going to do one more example, and then I'm going to let you guys have the other side of the problem. Okay? So here, same thing as what we had before. This is the grouping. So we need to take care of it last. So first we need to take care of this division. So we're going to multiply by the negative 6 and multiply over here by the negative 6. So negative 6 times 1 becomes negative 6 on this side. Okay, those opposites become 1. So a minus 13 is what we're left with. Now we're going to get rid of this minus 13, so I'm going to add it. Okay, and I end up with a positive 7. And let's double check our answer. So we have 1 is equal to 7 minus 13, divided by negative 6. So we're going to take care of the grouping first. 7 minus 13 is going to be a negative 6, and on the bottom we have a negative 6. And when you divide two things that are equal, the same, you get negative 6 divided by negative 6, you get 1, which is what we wanted. So the value of A is 7. Okay, so now for your practice, you're also going to be responsible for 20 and 22. So any of the ones that we did not finish, go ahead and practice with the opposite, or with those problems that we did not do. Okay, if you have any questions, make sure you ask me.